a nice drink or go and do that laundry you've been promising yourself you'll do, because it's story time and I can guarantee you I will waffle. So get comfortable. I've been hiking for about 10 kilometers now from Sognsvann to Ullevålseter and then back around, and I had intended to sit down and have a chat with you a lot sooner, but because there is a tube right next to, like a T-bana right next to Sognsvann, this is a really popular route, and normally when I go hiking I can walk for like 2 hours or even like the whole hike, like 6 hours or so without seeing someone. That's not the case here, and partially I don't want to get other people on camera because I don't like it when other people do that to me, but also it's really awkward and I feel like a bit of a knob filming myself. So finally I have a little spot that's just right next to a path still, but it's out enough, and I couldn't put my camera on the tripod properly. So this is not going to be the highest quality, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what's been happening since I was last vlogging, which was like 10 years ago. What's happening like now, basically, and what's going to happen next. So I can do like a proper introduction video another time if that's of interest, but I'm assuming that most people who see this is a subscriber from those 10 years ago. So I'm gonna skip the introduction for now, but let me know if you want that sometime. When I left off before, I was just about to have a baby. So she's nearly 10 years old. I had another baby in the meantime, so I've got 2 kids now. And when I finished vlogging, I started working in corporate communication. I was a trained journalist before that and was freelance working as a journalist, but since I'm not fluent in Norwegian, I had to pivot a little bit. Worked in corporate communication, and while I was doing that, I also volunteered as a project manager for this big company event, and just fell in love with project management. It just does, it fits me. I think I'm very organized, very structured, able to see details and the bigger picture at the same time, able to adapt quickly. So it just like I found a career that I didn't know was a possibility. Retrained to become a project manager, worked at a small marketing agency as a project manager for a while, and led a small team, and then moved on to a mobile game startup here in Oslo that's in the US as well, as a marketing project manager. And that's where I've been for the last 3 years. But as is the nature with startups, there's been redundancies, and I just figured it was the right time to move on anyway. So that brings us to now. And I am looking for work, but I am in my 30s. I have been in a high stress situation for the past few years. I've been a project manager at 2 startups in a row for 7 years, and that combination is stress is just part of the package. And I noticed I was bringing it home with me a lot, whether literally having to work in the evenings or just mentally and not being able to switch off, and it was not bringing out the best version of myself. So I know that whatever I do next, some stress can be fine. Stress can keep you on your toes and help you make right decisions if the balance is right, if it's the right kind of stress. So it's not that I am avoiding it completely. I just have to make sure that the combination of the role I go into next is the right kind of stress for me. Meanwhile, I had a hysterectomy about 2 years ago. I had adenomyosis, and it got really bad. I was basically bedridden in the end, right before the hysterectomy, and had been suffering more and more and more over that time. And there was a good few years, especially like the last 2 to 3 years before the hysterectomy, where I basically wasn't living my life, like between an intense job and raising 2 young kids and basically being bedridden. I just like it sapped the joy out of everything for me. I had my hysterectomy and it was life-changing. I feel like I'm finally starting to live my life again. And in the past 2 years, as cheesy as it is to say, I've really been focused on connecting with myself. I've discovered hiking. I am going to the gym. I am writing my first book. I'm knitting, and I'm just really starting to figure out what it is I value and what brings joy into my life. Where in like what situations do I feel most like myself, and prioritizing that. And a part of that is I've been really craving just disconnecting from technology, from how fast paced everything is. I am sure this is like a feeling many of us share, especially with like how crazy the world is getting, and then you've got, you know, throwing AI into the mix and all the complications that come with that, and there's endless content to consume. I don't know like about you guys, but I have found in the past I can watch like a whole series on Netflix and afterwards not be able to tell you what it was about. You know, it's just like mindless consumption. And I'm just craving stepping away from that. I'm craving like just being more in the moment, more intentional, slow down in everything. And I know there's this like movement online, you know, like TikTok and stuff, where it's like the analog hour, the analog basket, you know, fill your basket with hobbies that are about slowing down. So I know there is a craving for it. But let me know if like that's a feeling you've been having too, because I have found like the content I'm watching on YouTube these days is very slow. It's very like about the small moments, the small slice of life, about hobbies like hiking and knitting and just being very present. And so I figured I would pick up the camera again, and I don't know exactly yet what kind of content, because it's going to be driven in part by what feels good to me, what feels right, and also what's interesting for you guys. I don't want to be like shouting into the void, but the most important thing is that I enjoy the process. And I like when I was vlogging before, like I wasn't going to win any awards for my content. You know, it wasn't professional by any means, very scrappy, and it still will be. But I just really enjoyed having that creative outlet, fiddling around with editing, building a community, showing a slice of life that I know others would want and aren't able to get, like living in Norway and having all of this accessible. I think there's some value in sharing that in a way that doesn't make people feel even worse. You know, I think sometimes like content like that can end up being like aspirational in the wrong kind of way. I just want to be able to create like a little corner of the internet that's like comfort for you guys and for me, and just a chance to slow down. So let me know like if you've been feeling like that as well, that desire to just disconnect and switch off, or I should say disconnect from the, you know, the things that don't feel right anymore. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what kind of content this will end up being. I just know that I want to try it again. I found it really fun before. I don't have the same equipment I used to have. Like I have this like absolute chunk of a Canon camera and this like massive ass tripod, a huge mic that's meant more for podcasting. I don't, because this is just what my partner had like down in storage and I dug it up. Don't have the equipment I used to have. I don't have the editing software I used to have. So we'll see how this ends up. But I'm going to try it. And also let me know if there is like some kind of content you're interested in, like, you know, writing a book, hiking in Norway, being a project manager, working at startups. Literally, as I was talking about like not having the same setup and trying to set expectations for the quality of this, the one and only card I have got full. So I'm going to try and wrap it up here. It's nice to see you again, and just looking forward to hearing from you, and I will see you next time.